What is up, YouTube? We are here with a Delve update, and just going to lay out a couple of things for you here, what we're going to do today. So we're going to take a look at the Delve ladder. So those of you that are wondering, hey, what's the competitive scene look like right now for Delve and for competing for the lowest depths, we're going to take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at some of the monsters and bosses that spawn deep down into delves that Empyrean and his team have bumped into. We're going to watch a YouTube clip of some of the rippiest of depths at depth level 1800 and beyond. So the team that is pushing furthest in group delve hit 2K depth over the last 24 hours. And that is an incredible feat. When they first designed Delve, it's been stated that the design team first designed the engine generation for the Delve to go down 1,500 levels. So for the deepest depth to be 1,500. And Chris Wilson, the lead developer of Grinding Gear, said, hey, we're going to double that. When the dev team came back to him and said 1,500 is the deepest. So they doubled it. They made it 3K, and we're right around 3 weeks into the league. And there is a team of folks that's pushing 2K that just made 2K, and maybe who knows, maybe they'll hit 3K at some point. In the most recent series of patches that have come through, part of the reason why they've been such large patches is because they have once again doubled the depth. So the entire possible depth right now is 6K. Which is fascinating. Like, that's just awesome to say, hey, as a player base, we started out and the devs thought 1,500, and then the lead dev thought 3K, and now, like, hey, 3K seems to be something that might be possibly achieved, and so the dev team has said, hey, we never want anybody to hit the end of this thing. Let's double it again. So that's really, really cool. So first off, it's just awesome to watch everybody at the professional level, folks that are playing the game 17 hours a day, and that have crafted and made multiple mirrors and are wearing mirror, worthy gear all over the place. Like those folks, it's really fun to watch and to see. So let's take a look at some of their builds and what it looks like at the top of the leaderboards right now. So this is the Delve Softcore ladder. And for those of you that have never accessed the ladders before, you can just go to the Path of Exile website, go to the forums. This is where it'll be at. Once you're on the forums, you can simply scroll down to race events and league ladders, and then you can select from there the particular league you'd like to look at. So those of you that are playing hardcore or solo self-found or solo self-found hardcore, you can check those out. Today we're just going to take a look at the Delve depth ladder. Now once you've selected, for delving purposes, once you've selected the ladder, you're going to need to sort it by the depth of either group or solo, because typically the race is race to 100, but right now there's of course also the depth race, which is depth the depth race to the bottom, as it were, to see how far people can go. Now, you can see right here, Snap and his team, which includes Empyrean, as well as a few others, like 2,000 is the lowest that they've gone as a group. And again, that's the group that we're going to take a look at the YouTube highlights. They're right at 2K, which is amazing that they're that far. And you can see the difference between where people are at solo versus where people are at group. There's about an 800 depth gap between the two. Like when you think about that, this is a player that's playing in a party of 6, which they're running, I think they're running 4 supports and 2 DPS, or maybe it's 3 DPS, 3 supports. It's incredible. And again, we'll take a look at that in just a minute. But the solo guys are pushing 1,200 and just over a K. But you can see here, there's some very difference in folks that are pushing solo. 1,200 is the top, then 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, and then it drops down to just under 900, and then quickly to 700. So as a guild, I know several people were complaining and just mentioning, hey, we haven't even made it to depth 100. That's okay. Like the leaderboards drop relatively quickly. Like look at this, it's already 600 and you're on the first page of the leaderboards. Like it is not that far down that people have made it. Here's all the way to 500. Like page 7, still in the 500s. Like a lot of people are capping out between about 400 to 600 is where it seems to be a lot of people are capping out. So anyway, at the very, very top of the league, we've got this guy, which is Your Offers Can Fook Off. That's his character on Ruru. And let's go take a look at his character and see what things are like. So he's running a Pathfinder. He made it to level 100. He, of course, is going to have expensive gear. I am going to just tell you this right away. All of these people Okay, every single one that we're going to look at, including the highlights from Empyrean and his crew. Like, these are people that are literally running with the best possible gear in the game right now and the most min-maxed setups possible. So, when you look at your freshly level 70 character that is running through blood aqueducts and you go, why can't I do stuff that they do? That's why. Okay, they're at level 100, you're at level 70. You maybe have spent 60 chaos on your entire gear set. They have spent 60 exalts just crafting one of their items. Okay, so there is a massive gap in terms of the min-maxing that has gone on. So if you wonder, hey, can I push the ladder? Yes, you can. It does take time, but in terms of these guys that are at the very, very top, I just want to show you their gear and show you what some of their gameplay is like, because it is an amazing testament to PoE and to the awesome replayability and the depth that is there. Haha, pun intended for Delve. The depth that's there in the replayability. So we're going to start off, first off, he's using an Indigan, which of course he's an energy shield build. He's got Volatile Dead, destroys up to 1 additional curse as his lab enchantment. That is huge for damage dealing. One of the greatest parts about the Indigan is that you recover 10% of your maximum life when you use a mana flask, and non-instant mana recovery from flasks is also recovered as life. So you essentially have this cycle that is going on. You get 51% increased mana cost of skills for each 200 total mana you've spent recently, and then you get 60% increased spell damage for each 200 total mana you've spent recently. So you spend a bunch of mana, you recover a bunch of mana, and then you get a bunch of extra damage, is the idea behind Indigan. All right, his amulet is just a nice, really good-looking Elder amulet. He's got a bunch of attributes on there. This is how he's meeting most of his attribute requirements. He's also got perfect rolls on his all elemental resistances. And then he's got a wonderful bonus here for damage gain. 13% of non-chaos damage is extra chaos damage. That is absolutely ridiculous, just in terms of the DPS boost. Okay, he's rocking double Poet's Pens. These are both corrupted. This one right here, +1 to level of Socketed Gem, of course, and he's level 100, which means that at level, so every 25 levels, you're getting +1 levels. So if you don't level to 100, then your last power spike when you're using Poet's Pens is at level 75, because you're going to get a +1 at level 25, you're going to get a +1 at 50, and then you're going to get +3 at 75. So if you make it to level 100, you're getting +4 to the level of Socketed Gems, which is amazing. All right. So he's got increased attack speed, trigger a socketed spell, and he is using Unearth along with greater multiple projectiles, along with Body Swap. So this is the Magician's Poet's Pen that simply jumps around everywhere as it's attacking. That's what he's doing. That's the setup that he's using. On his second Poet's Pen, he's got damage penetrating 9% of elemental resistances, and he's running Volatile Dead along with Controlled Destruction, along with Elemental Focus. That Volatile Dead creates the magic balls. I've got magic balls. Anyway, magic balls that chase everything around and blow everything up and are homing. It's better SRS. It's like 1,000,000 times better SRS. This is like the best build possible for Poet's Pen, at least so far in Path of Exile. For rings, he's got a socketed Corpse Turn Unset Ring. This is ridiculous. It adds 21 to 46 cold damage to spells and attacks, which of course you're attacking with Poet's Pen in order to trigger the socketed spells, so it also adds damage to your attacks, but it also adds it to your spells. Then he's got 11% to all elemental resistances with some flat lightning resistance crafted on there, a bunch of life and a bunch of mana and a bunch of intelligence. He's using Clarity, which is level 21, so that way he can just regen a ridiculous amount of his mana. Over here he's got a Elder Ring, which of course is going to curse enemies with level 12 Warlord's Mark on hit, which is incredibly powerful. He's got a bunch of mana regen, included a bunch of flat mana. He's got global accuracy, and then, of course, flat fire damage to spells and attacks. And the implicit on this is life. So there's some life on there as well, which is a nice little boon. This is his particular rare chest piece, which is amazing. The Runeskin Loricated Ringmail. It gives him a bunch of armor and energy shield, bunch of intelligence, bunch of max life, bunch of max mana, bunch of lightning resistance, and then 15% of physical damage from hits taken as cold damage, along with crafted 13% fire and lightning resistance. This is his 6th link. He's got set up with Frenzy, GMP, LMP, Withering Touch, Chain Support, and multi-strike support. Again, so he's just trying to hit as much as he can with Frenzy, because at this level and at this depth, you don't want to get hit by any mob, because almost any mob is going to blow you up right away as soon as they hit you. So this is why he's linking everything he can to just possibly throw out as many projectiles as he can to hit and kill anything that's on his screen. He's using Comb's Roots with the Lab Enchant, regenerate 2% of life and mana per second if you were hit recently. It's got no sockets. You cannot be knocked back, but it does add a bunch of flat life, and then you cannot be slowed to below base speed, and it gives you unwavering stance, which means you cannot be stunned. That is huge for when you are delving, because obviously when you're stunned, you're not moving, you're not attacking, you can't dodge anything, you're just a sitting duck. So Comb's Roots, huge for when you're delving. His belt is the Runelock leather belt, gives him flat maximum life, flat armor, flat energy shield, more flat life, flat fire resistance, and then a bunch of mana recovery rate and a bunch of cooldown recovery speed. His gloves are the Cataclysm Fingers, the Murder Mitts. They give him evasion as well as energy shield with increased attack speed, flat life, flat mana, flat lightning resist, and then fire and lightning resist on top of it. All right, so that's his gear in terms of his flasks. He's got a Divination Distillate. This, I believe, with this setup is pretty much permanently running because of the way how he's consuming mana. Then he's also got, of course, +4 to all maximum elemental resistances during the flask effect. So that is huge. Even if your base is just sitting at 75, that pushes you from 75 to 79% elemental resistances, which is ridiculous in terms of the damage penetration. Elemental resistance, just so that way you know this, like this is one of the reasons why Lore Weave is such a huge chess piece, because elemental resistances scales in such a manner that the more higher you go in your elemental resistance, the less damage you take, obviously, right? Now this mathematically sounds like, well, duh, right? Iron, like you take less because you have more resistance, but it's exponentially better for each percentage point that you get above that regular capped max at 75%, which is huge. So 4% to all resistance is a massive reduction of damage. Then he's got a Wise Oak, so that way he's got flat resistances across the board. This is one of the reasons why he's got very specific rolls on all of his resistances, so that way he's flat, and he's going to get the bonuses to both sides of the Wise Oak. He's using Taste of Hate, which gives him a bunch of cold resistance, which isn't going to mess with his Wise Oak because he's got everything set up perfectly, so that way while everything's active, he's getting the penetration on exactly the type of damage that he needs. With the Taste of Hate, you gain 20% of physical damage from hits taken as cold during any flask effect. During this flask effect, sorry. Then you gain 15% of physical damage as extra cold damage during the effect. And then, of course, you've got chances to avoid being chilled or frozen during the flask effect. He's also got Dying Sun. Again, these are multiple X worth of flasks, which gives him a bunch of fire resist. He gives also supported skills fire 2 additional projectiles during the flask effect. This is huge. Again, he just wants projectiles firing everywhere. He wants his entire screen covered in projectiles, and so that's exactly what Dying Sun allows him to do. Then he's using Zerfi's Last Breath, the Grand Mana Flask. It looks so funny, but it is so expensive. He got this off of a reliquary key that can drop, and or he simply purchased it straight up, but somebody acquired it through the reliquary key. What it does is it gives you 50% increased charges used, and skills used during flask effect grant 586% of mana cost as life over 4 seconds. So just think about this for a minute. Skills used during the flask effect, right? So if your mana costs are really high, which again increases your mana cost of pretty much everything, right? You have all of this mana that you're using over 4 seconds as you're popping Zerfies, and then all of that mana cost is returned at 586% as life. So your cap on life regen is just ridiculous of how much life you're getting, because again, it's over 4 seconds. So how much mana can you spend over 4 seconds? This is one of the reasons why his mana regen is so high, and he wants it so high because he wants to spend just thousands and thousands of mana, so that way he's getting thousands and thousands of life regen back. So that's his setup. This is the guy that is right now the #1 on the ladder, Ruru. All right, so without further ado, I've promised it that we would take a look at Snap's team, Empyrean and Snap's team. So we're going to take a look here at this clip and just take a listen in on this team. This is a whole team of guys. This is 6 guys, and they're delving, I believe, at depth 1890.
Totems with Nemesis and Bloodlines, dude. It's actually insane.
As soon as he got touched, he just got blown up.
These mods, man.
And look at the mobs.
With Bloodline, Nemesis,
Queen of Souls.
50% avoid ailment,
This is your
40% res.
Like, look at the number of mods on this.
For rares on spawning on top.
They're at depth
Extra
1767 in this clip.
27 monster damage.
It's
always
ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, so here they go. They're going in. This is at depth 1830.
What the fuck? I don't know,
equals. It
dude.
wasn't that hard, just one
What
click.
the hell? There's a boss here.
Okay, you see this boss?
Oh my god, it's Argus.
Ah!
All right, so those of you that can't see, those of you that didn't catch this mob right here that you barely can see, this is Argus spawning at 18-something hundred, like 1890 depth. Okay, so there's a boss that spawns, and it's a replica of Argus, and look at how they take him down.
DPS, he's dying. Is he dead?
Nice.
That's an achievement.
Snap, how did you not tell us that was gonna happen?
Oh.
It was like every other node. Like, I swear to God, it looks the same.
What was the...
Molten
didn't get-
cavity.
1830 is the depth that they were at.
Cool. Contains fossils.
Bullshit.
It's Uber Argus.
Pretty much Uber Argus, right? Pretty ridiculous in terms of the
Think he
scariness
spawns
of it. Now take a
immediately?
look.
Come back.
They're going to fight him again. This is 1888 with harder mods. They had just wiped.
Where's Argus? Is he coming?
Now look at how fast this guy's going.
We have flares.
When he spawns, there he is, top right.
He's
He's coming.
Don't...
Look at how they're trying to off-screen everything, right? You see all the balls from the Volatile Dead. You see Elemental Hit. You see Caustic Arrow.
Come forward just a little
Yeah,
bit.
he's actually stuck in a corner.
Okay, he's
Keep
coming.
keep
Just
off
off
screening.
screen from right
Keep
here.
off screening. Yeah.
Just keep.
Sundering. He's sundering.
Go,
He's
go, go.
coming.
Go back. Go
Back
back.
up.
I mean, this is the most coordinated PoE gameplay you're ever going to see. Like,
Throwing
because
down.
if one of these guys go down, it's going to mess up their entire setup. They need to keep one another alive. Their
Just keep placing
DPS,
your
their
totems on
support,
cooldown.
everything.
Just spam it.
They're dropping decoy totems to
Keep
taunt the
one-shots
boss.
them, but we can keep them up.
Yep.
Now again, think about this. This is 6 people that have got mirror tier gear, and see how long it takes them to kill this one mob. Now granted, it's a boss. Nonetheless, this is one takedown.
When I'm ready and not before.
You know how much
Shit.
HP that
Got
is?
it.
You know how much HP that is?
Yeah.
That's like
a
a
lot of HP.
billion. It has to be a billion.
They're estimating
No
it.
way.
It's like 1 billion HP. Anyway.
Sh-
So I wanted to show that to you just to show, look at the coordination that's required, the teamwork that's required. You can see at the very bottom here of Empyrean's screen, they have got a bow that's up that they've serviced 5 times. Like their gear and their currency is ridiculous. It's outside of this world. So when you go and you look at the top end and you want to look at their ascendant, this is their ascendant that's technically at the top of the ladder. And here's his character, and here's the gear that he's running. I believe his name is Snap. Yep, Snap. Chris can't stop me. Okay, so this is their support. This is his gear set up as a support. So again, we just took a look at a DPS, a guy going solo. Here's their support. He's set up with the Alpha's Howl, which of course is like best in slot for basically any support, really. But of course, everything is going to be corrupted level 21. Purity of Lightning is corrupted level 21. And Power is corrupted level 4. Purity of Ice corrupted level 21. Purity of Fire corrupted level 21. Like, this is giving you 4 additional maximum of all resistances across the board, right? Like, that is huge for you and for your nearby allies. That is just ridiculous. Okay, then on his shield, he's got, of course, Corrupted Discipline level 21. He's got Haste corrupted level 21, and then he's using Tempest Shield as well. I'm not sure why he's doing that, actually. That's actually pretty interesting. Maybe it's just so that way you can shock stuff for when you block. This is his shield that he's using. Bunch of block chance for spell damage, and then a bunch of energy shield regen, which is huge, and then a bunch of flat energy shield. You see that the quality on that's 30%, so they've been using fossil crafting in order to get this setup going. He's got the Sin Trek, which is best in slot right now for energy shield boots, except for there's a couple of mirror tier boots out there that are available as rares. Baited Breath. Wrath has 19% increased aura effect with the corruption. Voidbringer +1 to level of socketed gems corruption. Then he's got the Ephemeral Edge. The reason why he's using this is because it gives the most amount of, again, energy shield. Then on his 6th linked Chevron's Wrapping, which gives him CI, he's got level 20 increased duration, he's got Anger, he's got Generosity support, he's got Phase Run, he's got Hatred, and he's got Enlighten at level 4, of course, because why wouldn't it be level 4? Then in terms of his amulet, He's got Periculum's Toe, which enemies can have 1 additional curse. That corruption is great. Then lightning damage from enemies hitting you is lucky, and nearby allies damage with hits is lucky. Lucky means that you roll the damage. Essentially, think of it like an RPG. You roll the damage twice, and you take the higher of the 2 numbers in order to see if you crit, which is huge to support a bunch of DPS players that are rolling to try and crit. So, if you're looking at this gear and you're going, "Oh, I want this gear. This is so amazing. It's awesome." Just keep delving, right? Keep delving. Remember that these guys are guys that are literally playing the game as their job. They're doing this for 17 hours a day, and they've been doing it since launch, and they've been using every single little trick in the book in order to make currency, and then in order to pump out these awesome, awesome, sick characters that can do things like this.
Joe's doing like 1 million per ball.
Yeah, and he makes 4 every.
Yeah. There's no way it's not over 1 billion.
Bosses with 1 billion HP. Just utterly ridiculous.
What was that huge fireball?
Holy
See that? They just lost their first DPSer. So they've only got 1 DPSer up right now. 4 supports plus 1 DPS.
Okay, I'm gonna dynamite spam.
Now their DPS are dead.
We can do it with dynamites.
So now they're trying to clear out
actually working?
this depth
We're
with
doing it,
dynamites.
dude.
Does anyone
Yes!
want
And they got it.
Holy
We
What?
actually did it.
So those of you who don't know, dynamite does percentage monster damage. It could be that that'll be changed in the future, but yeah, dynamite delving is a thing. Anyway, so hopefully you've enjoyed the video. As always, you can smash that little subscribe button down below for more content coming out here, because as I'm learning things, I'm trying to pass them on to you. As we as a community are learning things, we're trying to pass them on. Hopefully you enjoyed our little get-together as we've taken a look at the ladder and some of the ridiculous gear that is out there pushing on Delve. And again, congratulations to these guys as they've hit 2,000 depth as a group. And again, congratulations to Ruru that's at 1,200. That is amazing to think about as a solo player. So congratulations all the way around, and enjoy your delving.